almost will guarantee that they'll win 3-0. It's just so hard. It really is. I mean, theoretically, yeah, it's great because you get most games. It's fair. But teams just get down, man. If you're down 0-2, it really does hurt your morale. Hopefully that doesn't happen for a team if they are 0-2 and they're able to persevere and come back. But we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, the game has been started, so let's jump into it.
Let's go.
Team Pikachu on the right side. We got Gary Johnson 2012 on the Legion side, and this is the first game in a best-of-5 series.
Yes, it is, and I'm so glad we are finally here because, again, it's something we kept stressing throughout this whole tournament ever since it was announced, ever since, we were casting it, of course. As great as the other stages are, let's be honest. This is ultimately the point that we were all really waiting for, and it's we're just all human after all. You wait for those grand final moments. You wait for the moment where it's a best-of-5. Winner goes to DreamHack, winner 2012. And the loser, their hopes and dreams are crushed. I hate saying it that way because it really does suck. But only one team from these two teams here is going to be moving on. And going into an event, you like to think that both of the teams are qualified teams as far as going to an event like DreamHack. But again, only one's going to make it. So the blind band phase has completed. We are dealing with Nymphora Tundra coming out here from Gary Johnson, Tundra and Ophelia from Pikachu. So Tundra banned twice, so as a result, only 3 blind bans in total. And on the locking phase, Swinnemelon's actually taking a little bit of time to think about it. He will lock Fade as that first lock. So yeah, that's something we talk about, especially with Swinnemelons. Fade is a dangerous hero.
Well, it's a hero killer, and he said in the interview he likes to kill heroes, not creeps. So, and it really is the most efficient right now. It's the most scary hero as far as ganking goes in this metagame. That clear vision that you get from your ultimate just makes it so easy to not only just do a lot of damage, because, of course, when you do burst out of that ultimate, it does extra bonus damage. But just the fact that you know where the heroes are, and you can it provides perfect positioning. But we already see some interesting locks coming out from Pika with Devour and Nomad. Of course, I'm a little outspoken in saying Nomad has absolutely no place in the competitive scene. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I doubt it. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, this, something when lockpicking first came out, this is a strategy that we talked about. If you're the Hellborn team, if you have that second pick, you can lock 2 trollish style of heroes, and that puts a decision on Swinnemelons in this case to make. Because if he locks 2 good heroes here, that guarantees Pikachu is going to get 2 of the good heroes, where Swinnemelons would only get 1, and then they'll be left over with 1 of 3 troll heroes, because then Pikachu would finish off with another quote-unquote troll. So it's kind of a mix. It is whether or not it is exactly a troll, or if it's more so we feel confident playing this hero, but we're pretty sure that they aren't maybe as confident. Maybe that's the case, but look at that. Soul Reaper, a quick response. Not really quick, but taking some time to think about it. But Soul Reaper so far. And now the 5th lock going to be coming out here. Again, the final lock from Gary Johnson 2012. So this locking phase, game number 1 here, pretty interesting stuff.
Well, there's 2 things to be said about that. One, are those heroes really troll? You got to ask yourself. Okay, Nomad, I think so. Devourer, I still think has a place in the scene. It can be played. The other question is, too, can you lock a hero that looks like a troll pick, but actually you can utilize in a pick, in a draft? So specifically right here, Soul Reaper. Most teams, when they see Soul Reaper, they're like, troll lock. No one's ever going to pick that or use that. But, like, say you're the returners, or actually, in this case, Swinnemelons. Maybe they actually really like playing Soul Reaper. But maybe there's another hero. Let's take, for example, say, is Artillery now can he be picked?
Yes.
Okay, say Artillery. You have a very good Artillery player, and you actually have come to find out he's actually really good. I don't know if this is the case. I'm just using it as an example. And you lock him. They're like, oh, that's a troll pick, but you actually want it, so it just kind of floats by the draft, and no one picks it up, and then you're like, haha, gotcha. So you can use that to your advantage if you set it up properly.
Yeah, that is an interesting way to think about it. So, but the lock does finish. It goes with Succubus as the final lock for our Legion team, and then Wild Soul end up being locked there by Pikachu. So it seems like Pikachu at the very end, kind of got cold feet, not wanting to finish off with more of a quote-unquote trollish style. Instead, they want to go with a hero that, as you consider especially, is really just a god-tier hero really on the competitive scene now. So at least guaranteeing them, a solid choice to their first lockpick, and we'll see where we go from there. But the banning phase has begun. Dark Lady and Silhouette right off the bat so far. There's the Jerizaiah ban, and it's picking up a little bit of steam here. But I cannot wait to get to that lockpicking stage here. Swinnemelons did bring up the point. He is expecting something different from Pikachu in game number 1, because to that point as well, with the best-of-5 series, you have 2 more games after that first game at the very least to make something happen. So if you are going to try something crazy, game 1 probably is the game to do it in a best-of-5.
Yeah, I think so. I think normally, though, a little more safe way to go about it is, say you play game 1 serious, you win, then that next game, if you won, you can try something really crazy off the wall and not feel too bad about it. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. The final ban coming out for Pika came out from Swindlemelons. It was Parasite. Does not want to deal with that annoying aggressive jungler. There are still there's actually a number of junglers still out there. There's Tempest, there's that Keeper of the Forest. So Keeper of the Forest has been so popular. I'll have to come back with the numbers for you guys after this tournament is over to see how popular he was, because I'm sure the numbers are very, very high for Keeper of the Forest.
Yeah, of course, with the Redemption tournament, we had those great stats that we were able to pull. Big shout out to Macro Hard there, especially in Nibe as well from the forums. Definitely helping us gather all those stats from the matches in the Redemption tournament. We definitely plan to do the same thing here for this event, and, you know, in the future, of course, with Han Tour and much more to come. So that's going to be a lot of fun to use that information. But Pebbles is actually going to be the final ban here, coming out from Pikachu. The previous one, they actually did ban Tremble as well. So, of course, as we talked about Kazu on that Tremble, they don't want to have to deal with that. So the first pick going to be coming out here for Swindlemelons. Plenty of options. You got your powerful support, of course, in the Glacius, the Luna. Engineer, though, going to be the first pick here.
I was thinking, is that a misclick? Because Engineer is right next to Draconis,
Yeah.
and Draconis is not banned. So, yeah, really interesting pick there from Swindlemelons. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe he has a strategy in mind. Here's the thing about Lockpick, though, is you can never really have a set of heroes in your mind as far as this is the lineup I want to run in.
Yeah.
It always gets screwed by Lockpick. That's just the nature of the mode. You can have a lineup that's centered around an idea, like I want this jungler and to be able to solo short lane, dual lane mid, or something like that. But as far as getting the specific heroes, it's a little more difficult. You still sometimes can get it, but it's not always 100%. The counter pick, though, is Tempest from Gordob. One more pick for him. I might even just throw out there he might go Tempest and Keeper of the Forest. We'll have to wait and see. But Engineer, yeah, kind of an interesting pick there for Swindlemelons.
Yeah, it's not the first pick is, it's what really throws it off in sense of, is that what they really plan? I mean, yeah, you look at Engineer, powerful, he has his place, of course. We've seen it, especially with the Engineer Magnus lane. You know, if you want to do Engineer Flux, definitely has his place. But as a first pick here, it does throw you off a little bit. And, you know, you got the follow-up Tempest Bubbles coming out for Pikachu. So, very strong start for them. They got a Suicide. They got a Jungle. Now, over here for Gary Johnson 2012, well, they go with the Keeper of the Forest Jungle, perhaps, as one of the more powerful junglers left open. Definitely more passive at the same time, though. Or will they go for more aggressive? Will they try to combo Engineer with, say, that Flux? And then also maybe even the Kraken. Bring the Kraken back. Release that Kraken with the trio of heroes. That would be awesome to see. But, yeah, probably not. But anyways, the final two picks coming up here. A lot of extra time already used by both teams, actually. They're really thinking about this. There's the Keeper of the Forest, and there's a Plague Rider. So a lot of AoE synergy on both sides so far, really.
Yeah, a lot of AoE synergy, specifically on Gary Johnson 2012. Now, that Plague Rider ultimate with the Keeper of the Forest ultimate synergizes so well. If you get good farm on Engineer early, like something like a Portal Key and Steam Boots or whatever, it does a lot of AoE damage. Of course, Keeper of the Forest is a very, very good hero against specifically Tempest, too. That's why when they're both on the board, I really do think Keeper is far superior just in general, not only just for the countering of Tempest, but Keeper farms fast in his own regard. And it farms up woods. He pushes very, very early as well. And the last pick, at least in the regular picking phase, is that Luna. So probably a support and a very strong one at that.
Yeah, here we go. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Fade here. And sure enough, Swindlemelons just snatched that up right away. The response from Pikachu is going to be Wild Soul. And now probably going to think about it a little bit. They got they got more than 28 seconds. That's just of their extra time.
They could actually go Nomad.
You think Nomad here is actually a possibility?
They actually could. He could do a lot of damage, physical damage later. I feel like that's what they're a little bit lacking at the moment. They do have strong push. They have somewhat strong team fight. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Probably Devourer is my guess. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm just curious about their lanes if they go with something like that, though.
Well, it'll be probably a Bubbles mid.
Yeah.
And a Wild Soul long lane, and then a Luna plus X being Devour.
Okay,
so probably a Luna Devour, I'm guessing. They could also dual lane, and Soul Reaper is actually the last pick for Gary Johnson 2012. So, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What if Gary Johnson 2012 this whole time when they logged Soul Reaper? I think they're the ones to lock. Let me just double check.
Yes, they were.
So, yeah, what if they locking it so like, I'm going to pretend like this is a troll lock, but they actually the entire time wanted Soul Reaper.
Yeah.
So that's a strategy that can be used very effectively. But, yeah, Probus is going to be playing that Devour TPS prices on that support Luna, so how they lane it is going to be kind of interesting.
Well, yeah, Soul Reaper's interesting. You did mention Angry Testy played it for the returners in the group stages against TT Esports, I believe it was.
Yeah.
In a game that they came through and won. You know, he got some solid farm, and Soul Reaper can be a scary hero if you get some good farm on him. He can become very, very tanky, but just one of those intelligence tank heroes, you know, him like a Defiler, something like that, where he just puts out constant damage and very, very difficult to deal with. And of course, that boom goes to Dynamite Ultimate, as I like to call it, also known as Demonic Execution, is very, very powerful for taking out really those beefy of heroes, and you know, something like a Devour, something like a Wild Soul, who could become pretty beefy in the mid to later on stage. So that's another positive thing that definitely the Legion team will be able to look off that Soul Reaper pick. But yeah, both teams kind of going with a little bit different style of pick. The Devour over there for the Hellborn side and Pikachu, and Soul Reaper over here for Gary Johnson 2012. So again, game number 1, both teams not afraid to do something a little bit different here. But we are going to sit in the pause, of course, and get some things figured out. Of course, probably just the first game jitters, the first game.
It's the pee pause.
Yeah.
It's the piss pause.
Got to get that out of the way.
You really do. Yeah, as far as lanes, let's check it out here and try to analyze this as best as we can with this ghost on the screen.
Oh, we have fun here.
Anyway, for lanes, I'm probably looking at, well, it's probably going to be a Suicide Plague, Keeper of the Forest in the jungle there, Fade most likely mid, and a dual lane NG and Soul Reaper, question mark?
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting, but if you really look at it against a Suicide Wild Soul, it could be okay, but Wild Soul, of course, this is the reason why he's so god tier, in my opinion, is with that ability to pull those creeps with that bear and get that lane control just sitting right in front of his tower, it causes him no potential or no harm at all. And that hero is just so strong because of that.
Yeah.
And we'll have to wait and see how well v0te does. I know he plays it from time to time. When I really think of a great Wild Soul player, Zai comes to mind immediately. I think v0te has been playing Wild Soul frequently. Whoop, a pause right away. So it looks like they weren't ready.
Yeah.
Sender said ready, and then Swindle said wait.
Miscommunication right off the bat there. Not a good sign, unfortunately, but probably not the biggest deal when it's all said and done, of course. But yeah, you're right. And, you know, v0te in general, this is a player that he honestly just has been around the scene for the very longest time. I remember the first DreamHack that both had for Han, and as of course the one that we went to, actually, the very first one, myself and Phil actually were there to cast. It was v0te was part of, I believe they're called the Danish Dynamite, and that was really the first time I got to meet him, and of course most of the Han players that we met there, which was a lot of fun for that reason, of course. But yeah, he's just been around forever, as I keep going back to. It's good to see him still on the scene, still very strong, of course, and another chance here to perhaps go back to DreamHack winner 2012 in this case with a victory over Gary Johnson. But this is just game number 1. Can't keep stressing that enough, guys. So if you are just tuning in, you're tuning in at the right time if you like Han, because we got plenty of great Heroes of New Earth action coming at you here. Best out of 5 series to see which team will go to DreamHack out of these two, and which team will fall just short. So apparently Sender is ready now, or actually the Legion team. Hopefully that is. He did that last time though, and they weren't. So.
Well, I think v0te was on the original INFS team, right? The
yes,
Infused
he
team.
was.
And that was a team that really broke out because that was a period of time where MSI was untouchable. No one could beat them for, I want to say, like half a year or so.
Yeah.
Or maybe even longer. Just they were untouchable.
The trial era.
Yeah. And they busted out on the scene, and I think it was a Rockna. I think it was Aston L and a Rockna, or I can't remember who else, but and they dominated them in one game. I think they actually maybe even won the series against them, but nonetheless they beat them. Maybe didn't win the series, but they beat them, and they were like, "Oh my God, they can be beaten," and that's where they really got recognized. And yeah, I think he was on that original team.
So both teams. Oh boy! So apparently they were almost ready again, but then they're like, "No, it's a fake." So here we are again, game number 1. Why not keep the suspense going just a little bit longer here between these two teams? After all, it is a great matchup. We have the great storylines on top of just both being very quality teams, and the possibility of a best out of 5 series going to 5 games. Again, it wouldn't be surprising to me. So yeah, it is always fun though to kind of look back in Han's history and think back to moments like that. And man, we've been around for a while. I mean, the competitive Han scene really has. That was first DreamHack event was what, summer of 2010, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and that's nearly 2.5 years now we're getting close to. So as far as competitive Han and where it's been, so yeah, it's been a while. It's been fun times, but still more to come, of course, especially now with Han Tour. this weekend. I still can't get over that. I mean, Han Tour is actually happening this weekend. Or starting, I should say. So, boy, oh boy. But here we go. Here we go.
Well, it looks like they actually are going to man up and go this dual lane Devour and a Luna bottom. Maybe Tempest in the opposite jungle, but nonetheless, it's going to be a Wild Soul in the short lane. So this is kind of interesting. Now, Wild Soul still does well in the short lane, but I really feel like he's best utilized in the long lane. I really do. Now, maybe they're thinking is, well, okay, Soul Reaper is not the strongest in the dual lane, which she isn't. She's actually quite strong as a solo when she gets that solo experience against another solo. But against a dual lane, she's not really the strongest. And there's more pauses coming.
Here we have three of the 6 pauses are down here in the first minute of the game. So apparently there's a graphics bug, so he's going to go ahead and restart. But you saw right there what Gary Johnson 2012 is doing. They're not only protecting the ward placement, but they're protecting the bear from, or they're protecting from the bear going in there and actually setting up that pull that you kept on talking about. Perhaps trying to help out this Devo Luna lane in what is going to be the aggressive pseudo tri-lane, perhaps, if Tempest does eventually choose to go down there. They also, you see the chat going on. Keeper of the Forest being played by z0te here. He did actually have a tree on Kongor, just in case. Just wanted to make sure that they weren't actually doing Kongor. I mean, when you think about it, it's possible, I guess, with this team, but yeah. Just it's always we've seen it a couple times lately, and so for teams, it seems like they're getting a little bit more used to. Maybe we should just quickly check that just to make sure, but no level 1 Kongor this time around. But yeah, can't wait to see how this landing phase plays out and get this game actually started here.
Yeah, here's the one thing I'm looking at, the matchups as far as heroes goes. I think Tempest is going to have a difficult time this game, and I'll tell you why. You have every single hero that can cancel that ultimate. Of course, the ultimate from Soul Reaper, the stun from the Burning Shadow stun from Fade, the ultimate from Keeper. Even if you have a Shrunken Head, both the ultimate from Keeper and to Plague Rider can cancel that ultimate, that hole from Tempest, and that is just bad news bears for him. It's going to be really hard for him to get an ultimate off. I think what he might opt to do then this game as far as item build is something more along like team fight items, things like Astrolabe, maybe even a straight Shrunken Head without a portal key. But nonetheless, it's going to be hard to build Tempest. I feel him this game. They really drafted a team against Tempest effectively.
Yes, and of course that was Pikachu's first pick overall. They went with the Tempest, and I believe it was who was it after? It was Tempest Bubbles. That's who it was as their first 2 picks. So yeah, you can definitely got to give credit to the Legion team here, Gary Johnson 2012, in terms of perhaps building a lineup that's very strong against Tempest, and we won't give him many options here.
Now, I think when you were talking about they were trying to sit here and prevent the bear from coming down here, actually z0te's going to do a little bit pulling of his own against this the short lane for the Plague. Not really the biggest deal in the world, but it's going to give because actually he can just use that bear to tank the entire wave. So it's not the biggest deal in the world. They probably don't even suspect that Wild Soul's up here in the short lane. So that's a great tool against the dual lane. And at the same time, I was going to mention, when you don't really need to give yourself lane control in a 2v2 situation down the bottom. So having the bear down there is kind of doesn't really make any sense. And if he was to do that now, so many teams are expecting that bear to come in. You're going to have to find more crafty ways to get him in there through the jungle. Yeah. Find a different entrance, maybe right behind mid or something like that. But anyway, we are going to see this dual lane versus dual lane here. They did get the ward off actually just a little bit late for TPS priceless, but they don't know that actually Sender is still going to single pull it, and hopefully if he does this well, he can actually eat the trees above it and then get the pull a second time from the camp right above it. If he times that perfectly, then it pretty much completely denies that wave.
Yeah, you see him right there, he eats through the trees, so it's almost as if he's tuning in. But obviously, no, just a great player himself and very aware of the situation. And in fact, here he goes. He's going to pull the next one and try to get lane control back in their favor. So well played right there by Sender, pulling it to the creep wave and actually getting some aggro on it. So very good timing on top of that. So KZoo will clean up here at the creep wave on the tower. Get some couple of creep kills himself. Pretty good. But look at Devo and a Luna coming over. They're going to snatch up some creep kills themselves. And actually, Luna got quite a bit right there from that situation. But still, the lane is in favor back of Soul Reaper, and he'll gladly take that. But yeah, Devour a Luna. I mean, what do you make of this bottom lane? How do you see it possibly playing out here?
A Luna sniping for pretty much all that CS is kind of interesting. This lane's very strong. I mean, it really is. You're going to have spam from a Luna. And actually, Keeper of the Forest wants to maybe do a little bit of harassing here, but how much harass can a level 2 Keeper do? Not all that much. But like I said, Soul Reaper in lane is really not that strong. They need to not fall in the trap, though, of going onto Soul Reaper. He's a little bit too tanky right now, and obviously has those heals. So if you're going to go on anybody, they actually do get a keg stun on Devo, but he's way too tanky. He actually didn't go for Hatchet, so he's going to have even more regen, which I think is a good lane against this dual lane. But yeah, Devour at Luna, it's very strong. If Devour gets a good hook, actually, you know, like you see right there, Luna doing a little bit of harass with the power throw. But it's not that much. I think this lane's actually going to be a little bit stale until we see the numbers come up on their levels.
We see the top rune. It's going to be a haste. Will it be picked up by Fade? Nice burning shadows on a Tempest just before. And now Tempest is actually in a little bit of trouble right here because with the haste rune, Fade going to be able to chase the minions coming in though. Tempest going to turn around with a stun perhaps. There we go. So Namel's going to kind of start falling back. Does he have burning shadows up in 1 second? He wants to go for the kill. The taunt is up. There's the burning shadows and it is going to be enough for the kill. Bloodlust kill going in favor of Swindamelons and Gary Johnson. 2012 just got there just before Tempest, and it proved to play big time for Fade, being played by Swindle.
Yeah, that's where the RNG comes into factor. There was a really lucky rune at a very perfect time for him. So really bad start now for Nier. That's really going to push back his farm. And on the free farming Tempest, he's actually got level 4 before that, so he must have been doing something right. He's actually beating Zfreak right now.
Oh, Soul Reaper. One more out of attack. Maybe Power Throw going to be coming out in 2 seconds. Will it be enough for the kill? Another hook also going to be... No, not on Panda. There's the Power Throw. What a snipe from TPS Priceless. Hits Kazoo and then counter kill coming out here from the Hellborn team. That started with a hook from Probusk. It was a good job by Engineer being played by Cinder. He threw out the turret, slowing them down. Also, the Kickstun hit Devour. So it got the Rot off of Soul Reaper. But obviously, as you saw, TPS Priceless on a Luna. Just a little bit too much damage. And a great Power Throw in the end.
Yeah, really good job by TPS Priceless. You got to give him credit. There at the end, you saw both the Mana Potion and the Health Potion being popped and used by Devour, but I see this a lot from players, and they just get a little complacent, and actually the stun comes out, the keg stun, but it does miss. I see players get a little complacent with using their potions, and actually, I mean, he just got hit by creeps for no reason, and it canceled it. Maybe canceled about 200 health and, I want to say 50 mana or so, and that does add up, so it's just a little thing like that, but kind of annoying watching that. Anyway, Keeper of the Forest, he picks up a regen rune down here in the bottom, so he's not going to have to use those 2 mana potions. That's actually going to help his farm out. And he's on his way. I don't know how he exactly builds Keeper, at least early on. But most players always do go that Ring of Sorcery. He's going to have it relatively soon. That regen is definitely going to help him out.
Yeah, I mean, Zfreak has proven, you know, Tempest is a hero that comes to mind for him, where he built it a little bit different than others. But he does go the Pickled Brain there with his first item, so it looks like Ring of Sorcery. The standard build on Keeper of the Forest is going to be that first go-to item. Fade in the middle lane, taking a little bit of damage. Obviously, I wanted to talk about this matchup a little bit, but of course, with that Bloodlust kill going in favor of Fade, no doubt helping him win this lane. But Creep Farm, he was leading quite a bit for a while, but actually Bubbles has overtaken that now, 19-5. Compared to 17-8, but you see Fade going back and right here, the Colt on top of the Burning Shadows. Bubbles return damage. Bubbles, as soon as he hits level 6, he could possibly go for a kill, actually. And Fade will need to be careful of that. Of course, with her ultimate herself, she could go invisible and maybe save herself, though. So this lane could get very interesting. But yeah, it seems like Bubbles, Gordon not doing too bad here in the middle. Yeah,
I think Bubbles is a great hero for mid, I really do. He's got the ability to get to those runes quickly, and unfortunately we did see Fade go up there. I think Fade just preemptively went up there to the rune very, very early on, and it's hard to combat that. You just have like, well, if you get lucky, that's cool. If it sucks for me, but I'm not going to waste time and go up there and just wait for the rune. He'd rather get the creeps in the mid. But yeah, it's kind of an even matchup, Fade versus Bubbles. I definitely give the edge to Bubbles, but with that Bloodlust kill happening for Swindlemelons, he does have a better lead right now.
Yeah, definitely helping him. So the top lane, the lane we really haven't talked too much about just yet, Plague Rider versus Wild Soul. Breaking that down, we got Plague Rider 13-11 currently, Wild Soul 16-5, and it does seem like the lane is constantly pushed up. But again, that's what Plague Rider really does. It helps make him a great suicide hero. What do you make of the top matchup there?
I actually do give the favor to Wild Soul. I think if you get a lucky route, and you can in a 1v1 situation, maybe I haven't been watching. I actually have been watching a little bit. He hasn't gotten the most lucky routes, but I think once this Tempest hits 6, he can very easily push this lane. I've talked about this before. Whenever you have a Plague Rider or someone with a deny, you can constantly punish them for pushing that lane back and push even further into that lane. And so actually Plague is level 7 now because of those denies. Is 2 levels higher than Book right now. So that's just the deny coming into factor.
Yeah, in fact, pull up the experience per minute chart. Him and Fade are right on top there. By quite a bit early on. So good news there coming out again for our Legion team. Devour here at the bottom lane. He's trying to set up a hook, but you got to give credit to Soul Reaper and Engineer. They're playing very, very passive. They're positioning themselves correctly, and it's just not giving Probusk the opportunity to actually land a hook right here. So he's going to have to fall back himself. He will hit level 5 on the way back, but Aluna also falling back to the tower. So that they expect something's coming here Whether it's Keeper the Force, I mean, they know he's level 6, of course, so maybe they're expecting some kind of gank. But Aluna playing very, very passive. You do see Keeper the Force has a couple of illusions scouting out a little bit. But right now, it doesn't look like our Legion team is setting up a gank. Although Keeper the Force running over now, so this could possibly be that chance. He puts the Invis on himself, but you see Devour immediately kind of reacting to it. It's almost as if they can see them somehow. But he's going to be fine for now, but this could get hairy here at the bottom lane. Fade, though, at the top lane catches Tempest, and Tempest again will fall. So Nier is falling victim to Swindle here.
And that was really unlucky, for Nier. And actually, there's the Entangle coming out finally on Disguise. So he does use the ultimate, the Plague Rider, bouncing to him once, twice, 3 times. It's going to go back maybe, and that was a lot of damage, and Plague Rider does not fall. So does use the ultimate, so that's good for v0te and the rest of their team, but not able to get a kill.
Meanwhile, bottom lane, Devour actually getting rooted already. Will he be able to survive through this? Maybe deny himself at the last second. No, it's not going to be enough. Keizu gets credit for the kill. Smackdown kill on top of that. So Devour, that was a very interesting choice by him. He actually went to the jungle and over to where Engineer was doing the pull, so maybe figuring he could harass him a little bit, but Keeper the Force was sitting right on top of him with an Invis, of course, from his Nature's Veil, and completely caught Probusk off guard. So right now, 3-1 hero kill advantage in favor of Gary Johnson 2012. Race to the bottom rune. It is an Invis rune. Fade canceling the Burning Shadows. He faked it right there. Wanted to hit it after, but no. Bubbles will bottle it up. He's going to be fine for now. Maybe even look to turn this around a little bit. He's going to use it, do some bottle charges, as Fade will fall back. But yeah, it seems like our Legion team finding themselves in a pretty good spot here early on, now putting pressure on the bottom tower as well.
Yeah, this is why most teams just simply don't man up and go long lane. Even though I do feel that Devour tries to get the hook, he gets the hook actually onto Engineer, and then walks away to dodge the keg stun. So kind of nothing happening right there. Counter pushing actually Bubbles here down the bottom lane, does get the Kelfield, but then actually just shell surfs away. Top tower is pushed for Hellborn, so kind of trading towers in that sense. But it looks like, oh, there's a hook attempt coming out, but it hits the Archer, unfortunately, and there's the deny coming out for Keizu. So, yeah, despite I really do feel like Devour and Luna are the stronger lane, manning up just is very risky, because if you lose, you're just in such a worse spot. You don't have a hard carry farming, obviously, because you lost the lane. So you're not really necessarily hard carry, just anyone getting massive amounts of farm. If you look at v0te, who's in that short lane, it's not anything too impressive. I mean, he's 25-6. Plague is 27-17, actually winning in the creep farm department. So it's just kind of a risk that most teams don't like to take.
Yeah. That bottom lane was very interesting. It seemed like Pikachu could have really capitalized off of that. A level 7 invisible Bubbles coming in on the flank. They just pushed the tower. He got a great Kelfield off, but unfortunately there were no ports. It was just him and Devour. And Devour was already sitting back as he just used a couple of his cooldowns. So you got to think maybe at the very least if Aluna there, especially if Tempest was there, that could have been a pretty solid fight for the Hellborn team. Excuse me. Keeper the Force, his root was definitely also on cooldown still, at least I believe, as of course he used it a little bit earlier to help kill Devour. So that could have been a chance, but unfortunately they decided to really commit to pushing the top tower instead. And I do believe Tempest Homecoming Snow was still on cooldown as he just used it previously. So really it was just the circumstances or the situation just wasn't adding up for them. But Haste is going to be picked up by Fade. No, nice hook right there from Devour. Puts the ultimate on him. In comes Bubbles. Will steal the haste on top of getting the kill on a Fade, it looks like. Yes, there we go. And he'll just sit it, wait there, bottle it up. And very well played. Probusk happened to be in the right place at the right time there.
Yeah, really good hook by Probusk. And then good presence of mind, as you would say, Ricky, on Gordov for not stacking the silences onto him. Or stun or silence, whatever have you. And they're gonna push here in the mid lane. That's pretty good. Keeper the Force is above him, actually Invis himself and using those trees to stay Invis. And has the ultimate, catches everybody. The ports are coming in, but there's a Tempest ultimate. It's going to get canceled immediately by the keg stun. Good job by Sender. There's the actually the shell surf, but they do only get 1 kill out of it, and they actually get the towers. So if I'm Team Pika, I actually kind of like that exchange. They did use a Tempest ultimate, but they used a lot of ports on the Legion side and only got 1 kill out of it. So I think that's a fine exchange. If they're able to get this tower, though, then it would be worth it.
Yeah, we do see, of course, they're committing Seafreak actually getting hooked right there. He's in a little bit of trouble. He's dropping pretty quickly, using the Nature's Veil, though, and actually devouring another one in big trouble. The Plague Rider ultimate in the background. Gonna mess with the creep wave, though. That will be the saving grace for a Pikachu big time right there. That could have been very ugly, but RNG was in their favor on that Plague Rider ultimate going to the creeps instead. So a little bit of farm for Plague Rider, but he would much rather have the hero kill. So they're going to push this tower very aggressively. Of course, with Devour dead, Wild Soul is not here. Tempest ultimate not off cooldown, and Kelfield was also used. So they just don't have anything to stop this now, and that tower will easily be destroyed. So yeah, in the end, maybe you can give overall credit to Gary Johnson right there, a favor even. But still, Pikachu, it looked like in the beginning it could have been not too bad for them. But yeah, Gary Johnson really did capitalize there.
Well, that's one of those times where even if you do get the hook, it sometimes could be your demise. And Yeah, he hooked Keeper of the Forest. He didn't have an ultimate up, Keeper of the Forest, that is. But, you know, the team was quick to respond, and it just wasn't worth it. That's also I was looking at Wild Soul here on the top, and I feel like he could have actually participated in a fight like right there. They knew that Keeper Forest ultimate was down. He is very, very tanky, and that tower was already pushed. It wasn't like he was actually applying a lot of pressure to the Tier 2 tower. In fact, he applied really nothing. So there's no reason for him to be farming that. If he was maybe getting lots of damage and pushing the tower quickly, then yes, he should be pushing on his own. But he needs to help out his team where he can, because they are at a deficit right now. 5K, almost a 5K experience lead, which is the big number right here for Gary Johnson.
Yeah, that's you are right. I mean, speaking of Wild Soul, he has nearly 1,900 gold saved up, so I guess still not exactly certain. It could be a Soul's Bulwark, but it also could be very likely that Mocker Brilliance eventually. Of course, needing 3,400 for the sort of the hive first. So we'll see what route Books decides to go here. What would you like to see? Would you like to see that Soul's Bulwark first? He has 2,000 gold saved up, or would you just be fine him going to Mock first?
I think Mock is actually a horrible choice right here. There's a lot of tanky heroes. On top of that, you have heals coming out all the time. What's the cooldown here? It's 5 seconds at level 4. Heals coming out every 5 seconds from Soul Reaper. On top of that, Astrolabe. So, and then the armor, of course, with that extra regen from Nature's Veil. The just Cursed Shield makes them a little more tanky. Obviously, that's physical damage, but they're pretty tanky over on this Legion side, and they're grouping up as a team. So having a Mock, in my opinion, is not the smartest decision. I would definitely like to see a Soul's Bulwark, maybe even a Demonic Breastplate first item. Yeah,
Keeper of the Force, he is setting up for a great ultimate. Plego getting caught by the couple, but they do not know Keeper. No, nice Lunastun actually cancels the route initially. The Shell Surf from Bubbles right there will keep him out of it, but in comes Engineer. He's going to land a great energy field. Oh, nice stun though from Tempest actually. Energy field finally goes down, but it only catches one. Bubbles still trying to get away. Will he get away? No, he will not. Devour joins the party, but here's the rest of the team now from the Legion side, and this could actually definitely go in their favor quite a bit. Astrolabe going to be used. Soul Reaper joining the party. Devour trying to devour right there. Not going to be nearly enough. He eventually falls. Soul Reaper ultimate. Boom goes the Dynamite, and he goes down. Wild Soul and Tempest are just completely on the run, as well as Aluna. The Kegstone will barely miss right there. Swinnamelons wants some kills, but he's just going to have to choose to fall back. But great response in the end from Gary Johnson 2012. Pikachu, they tried, man, but again, Keeper of the Forest seems to be really catching them off guard here.
Well, they're taking way too long trying to down these heroes, and it pretty much has to be kill back. You got to burst them down, get out of there, because this is a team you do not want to fight head-on in a team fight. At least not right now. You're going to have to dodge every team fight. But at this time right now, it's almost too late, because their lead is so significant that they're never going to stop. They're never going to not group up. They can just keep pushing constantly, grouping up, and that's all they need to do. And Fade works really well with this kind of lineup too. With you're constantly grouping up and pushing, that means you have more gold, that means you have more items on your team, and you're going to be winning these team fights much more in a very strong fashion. And then with Fade in the background, seeing all these heroes with that clear vision and that ultimate, it makes it very, very easy to come out on top in these team fights.
Yeah, it definitely does. So right now, Pikachu no doubt behind. I mean, we're looking at a 6,000 gold lead, 7,000 experience lead for our Legion team. So Pikachu has some decisions to make here when it comes down to it. But it seems like the big decision is going to farm this Mock of Brilliance on this Wild Soul. And as you were talking about just before that fight, not a huge fan of that, going that option. So it's almost as if they're kind of going for something that really is that going to be the biggest difference maker in this game, especially with just how much time they're investing into it. I mean, Book, as great of a Wild Soul player and just in general player he isn't necessarily taking off. I mean, he has this decent game. He's farming 266 gold per minute, but that Mocker Brilliance is definitely taking a little bit longer than what you would like to see on your typical pickup for the Wild Soul. So, but again, it keeps going back to when he eventually does have it, is that really going to be the big difference maker, and will it be even in time at this point? Speaking of more items, though, you look at Soul Reaper. He just finished his Shaman's Headdress. He had Steam Boots, Astrolabe bringing the Teacher. There he goes with the Shaman's Headdress. Keizu's farming 373 gold per minute, the top farm in the game, and he's building tanky, man.
Yeah, and actually here comes Fade, looking for a kill yet again on the Tempest. I think it's an Invis rune, actually. So actually misses the Burning Shadow stun coming out. But Tempest is going to pour it out, doesn't want to deal with any of that, and still uses the ultimate right after. So, unfortunately, actually this stun coming out from the Minotaur. He does actually use that coal, and is going to farm actually a lot of creeps on the Elementals and the Minotaurs. So, good exchange there for Swinnamelons as he gets closer and closer to that level 11. But, one of the things with the problems I see here with Pika's lineup is it seems to be centered around a strictly a Wild Soul carry, and I really feel like Wild Soul functions better as like a second carry on your team. Someone that okay, the focal point should be on, say, like a Dark Lady or Silhouette or whatever carry you want, and then he's just like an added bonus. Like, oh yeah, we forgot about this Wild Soul. Oh crap, he has a Mock at 20 minutes. I was putting all my focus into this Dark Lady, and then you have to. It's hard to keep both of them down at the same time. When he's the focal point of your team, it's much easier to actually keep him down.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And, you know, here we are. Again, he has 3,000 gold saved up, so he is getting close to picking up that sort of the high. And, you know, I made the point that it's not going to be the quickest. It's not the slowest, though, either. I mean, it seems like at this rate it will be a pretty solid Mock Brilliance pickup, but it just keeps going back to, is that ultimate going to make the biggest difference here in this game specifically? No. Look at this bottom tower push, though, easily dropping in. And that is a secondary tower already taken down in only 17.5 minutes into this game. So Gary Johnson, 2012, their lead just, it's sitting around the same. It's not really exploding since we talked about it last, but again, just keeping it very consistent in a consistently good spot. They're also going to steal some Ancients right here. You see a Luna trying to scout them out. She does, but obviously as she sees, her Ancients are getting stolen right beneath her eyes. So Devour kind of roaming around a little bit. He's trying to find any opportunity. I mean, look at Devour's build. He's got Power Supply, Blood Chalice, Mystic Vestments, and Striders. So really, again, just hasn't been able to really take... You pull up the gold per minute chart, and it kind of explains the story, how this whole team, it's very, very consistently not that great. I mean, overall, not bad, but yeah, especially with where you see Gary Johnson 2012 at, they are behind quite a bit right now. I am curious, it looks like Tempest could be going for that portal key here.
Yeah.
And maybe that is just an all-in, as difficult as it is to get one off, maybe he figures he needs to get a 5-man ultimate somehow.
You're exactly right. I mean, it's going to be really difficult. Actually, Bubbles in a lot of trouble. A double damage Invis. Fade comes out. Look at that damage coming out. Can Bubbles actually get away? No, he cannot. Wow, that was a big kill for Swinamount with that double damage rune. And the Legion are owning. Massacre coming out. The Sword of the High was picked up by Book. And he will have that. But like I said, I really just think that's the wrong pickup. Barrier Idol already finished on Soul Reaper, so it's going to mitigate almost all of that mock damage, at least for a good amount of time. The portal key's picked up by Fade as well, so they're going to have Initiation Tool on top of that Keeper of the Forest portal key pickup. And they just have Team Fight written all over them. The portal key is picked up on Tempest, and like you mentioned, at this point it's like, okay, we understand we are rapidly losing this game. We're going to need a miracle. We're going to need a 5-man ultimate on top of everything else. But even then, I don't think they have the damage. If they get all 5 in there, I think they can maybe kill Engineer, and that's about it. But they just don't even have the damage on top of that.
You're right. They need to kill multiple heroes within that Tempest ultimate because you have the Soul Reaper especially. Because as soon as they come out of it, that heal bomb on top of the Astrolabe is going to be used. And that's a 450 burst heal right there between those two abilities alone. Or 480, excuse me. 200 for the Astrolabe, 280 from the Judgment ability. So you said it. It really is. It's almost just a desperate and almost just a case of just delaying the inevitable here, honestly, for Pikachu. And only being 20 minutes into the game here in game number 1 of this best out of 5 with DreamHack winner 2012 on the line. It sucks to say that, but it really is true. Pikachu just finding themselves in a very, very difficult spot. So Gary Johnson 2012, they pushed the middle secondary tower. Now going for the top one. This is the final one. And I don't even think Pikachu's going to even attempt to stop this. They probably at the very least want that Mock of Brilliance to be finished on Wild Soul, I'm sure. At this rate, though, I mean, will they even have that? He has 700 gold saved up. He needs 1350, but you got to figure our Legion team may just start pushing into the base. No, they're going to take a little bit safe here. Fade is roaming around a little bit. He doesn't have his ultimate up. That's actually an invisibility rune. Yeah. So he's going to try to maybe bake them out a little bit here. He trying to go to Bubbles, perhaps. Will he Burning Shadows? No, he will not. Bubbles will portal key away, actually, and be fine. But they're just going to keep the pressure and keep them on their toes now.
Yeah, there's a Sentry Ward in mid, but I don't think it actually spotted him. But Bubbles was playing really far up. Right after the tower kill was up there in the top lane, you can expect that they might roam down there in that mid lane. But, yeah, they're just going to group up. Maybe going to go for Kong, actually. They can actually still push into the high ground with all the, well, actually, Soul's Bulwark, as you mentioned, now picked up onto Z-Freak. So that's going to help with their team fight even more. They have so many team fight heroes and items and that they could actually push in the base, but they want to take the safer route and get Kong or get that token up maybe on Soul Reaper. Before they actually do push into the high ground.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard. I mean, for Team Pika, what they're going to have to do really is get a pick-off with a hook. And kill that guy really quickly or bait the rest of the team to walk up and clump each other into 5 and then get a good Tempest hole. Yeah. I'm trying to fish for things that they can do, but it's just too hard against this mass AoE Team team fight team.
Well, something else I don't even think we really mentioned, but it's adding up here. I mean, you got Keeper and Plague Rider. We see this combination every now and then, and the mass armor that comes from that. You're dealing with 6 armor right now from Plague Rider, another, 12 armor from Keeper the Forest. So that's 18 armor right there. It's going to be 20 armor when that Cursed Shield hits level 4. 20 more armor potential on every single hero on this Legion team that you're having to deal against. So it's just that we were already stating how the damage up, but we just don't know if it's enough. When you think of that on top of it, I mean, it really is just adding up to be ugly on all sorts of levels here for Pikachu. But now Token of Life on top of that, which, no surprise, was picked up on Soul Reaper. A great hero to have that on. I mean, he's a very spammable hero, and he's just one of those, he's so tanky that even if you just somehow happen to kill him, he'll just come right back up now because of that Token of Life, and you have to deal with him all over again, especially since you can just keep spamming that Judgment. The Aura is constantly doing damage. You talk about the Withering Presence in the laning phase. I mean, it just scales very well all throughout the game because it's percentage. It's not a static amount. So
right.
Very, very effective ability going on to the later game as well.
Plague actually picked up an Abyssal Skull, so they're just going for team fight items strictly right now, and they can. But yeah, actually, Fade gets initiated on. There's the Kelfield. There's actually the initiation coming out for Tempest. I'll let you take over, Breaky.
Oh, Keeper the Forest going to counter though. Tempest does have an ultimate ready. Will he be able to use it right here? Yes, he will. Lock it on only Keeper the Forest. Plague Rider's dead in exchange for a bubble so far. Do they have the damage output? Yes, they do. Keeper will fall. Fade is forced to fall back. And a 2-for-1 exchange actually happening in favor of Pikachu. So I guess if there's going to be any way of coming back here for Pikachu, it's situations like that. Just getting picks when they happen to be spread out, which I'm very surprised that even happened in the first place, because as you just mentioned, I mean, they're going for mass team fight items. They've been pushing as a team, but right there, they just happen to be in separate lanes that we're not able to support at that time. So it was really just a great timing gank right there from Pikachu. But they need several more of those before they can feel to be a little bit better now.
Yeah, but here's the scary thing, as I mentioned, is you can't dump all this farm on the Wild Stone and expect him to carry against this team. You need a stronger carry. Devourer cannot carry like this, at least when he has this little farm. And so it's hard when you're initiating on an actual fight. Like, say, Gary Johnson in 2012 decides to actually push into the base with 5, ready to go. Who do you decide to go on? Like, kill Fade right away? Well, you're going to have Keeper Forest ultimate. You're going to have the Engineer ultimate. You have Soul Reaper massively healing with damage, AoE, and, the Plague ultimate, everything. It's who do you really go on? And can you even burst them down quick enough to actually kill them before the spells are used from Gary Johnson?
Yeah.
It's just really difficult. I mean, that pickup was great, but like you mentioned, they're going to need a lot more of that.
Well, the Shaman's Headdress purchased on Devour. It's not the most offensive item, but, getting a Barrier Idol themselves actually really wouldn't be a bad option. That'd be very good against this Legion team, so again, another solid choice. You do see Tempest. It looks like he is working on a Shrunken Head now, but as you stated from the beginning, it's very rare to see this, but we still have 3 ways that can take Tempest out of an ultimate with Soul Reaper, Keeper the Forest, and Plague Rider. But anyways, we do have initiation right here. There goes that Keeper Root coming out. Devour and Luna in a lot of trouble. It also caught up here, it looks like. Devour will end up falling. Wild Soul just sitting back. Where's the bear even? I'm sure. There we go. Okay, then they kill it. So he's coming back up right here. He's trying to get some damage out, but Wild Soul gonna drop though. Bubbles jumping in, trying to maybe save his teammate, but now he's in some trouble. He's gonna be able to show Surfer away, and it's gonna remain a 2-for-0 exchange. But now we're gonna start seeing some base push, it looks like.
Yeah, the Tempest ultimate's on cooldown as well. And you only have a level 7 Luna trying to maybe counter push, but it's just too hard against this spam, this heal. Engineer was so low, but look at his life already. He's almost up to about 3/4 HP. The Bubble Shell Surf and the Luna Snipe is great for counter pushing, but it's just simply not enough when you have this much of a lead as Gary Johnson does. They get the base tower down. They're trying to chip away at these barracks now, and I think they're going to get them. They have so much sustainability. One of the great things about actually Soul Reaper is that being able to sustain all that mana with that 3rd ability, so she can keep constantly staying in the team fights.
Oh, Bubble's gonna get jumped right here. Figured he'd go back in for a little bit more harassment, but it might cost him his life right here. There we go. The final auto attack for Fate gets the kill. Hook is just gonna barely miss, but again, it's really a case of would that have accomplished a lot, because it was gonna be Keeper of the Forest, and he's just so beefy, and the rest of the team was ready to respond. So probably, honestly, for the better that he did miss that hook. Tempest ultimate is just now coming off cooldown. So you do go back to that middle fight and how he used it there. It just was only maybe up for a half a second. Got canceled immediately. Really wasn't even the greatest in the first place. Unfortunate that they weren't able to take advantage of that right there. But anyways, Legion team, they got what they came for. They got the melee racks. They got the hero kills. And now just going to once again reset. So Pikachu will have a little bit of time here to hopefully calm things down for their sake and maybe try to get something out of this. But Again, they're just already in such a big hole here. Will it be enough is the big questions. But you got to figure now the Legion team also, in fact, there we go, Energizer just picked up an Engineer. So you mentioned earlier just the team fight items, Abyssal Skull, Soul Bower, Energizer, Astrolabe, Barrier Idol. It's just all adding up here for a Legion team.
Sheepstick, puzzle box.
And they have a puzzle box, too. And, yeah, Sheepstick on Soul Reaper. Holy crap, didn't even see that until you said that. Wow.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It is pretty crazy. And that was... Gary Johnson's really key with their composure, too. Like, it was very easy for a lot of teams like just feel like they can completely overwhelm them and stay in the base forever. Like, honestly, they probably could have. They probably just could have stayed up there and constantly killed them over and over. But they still had their big ults on cooldowns. They had the Keeper of the Forest ultimate, the Engineer ultimate, I think, and the Plague ultimate on cooldown. And they had the Sheepstick being delivered to Soul Reaper. They got the racks. They're like, hey, there's no reason to stay here. Let's just back out. Even though they honestly, I feel like just could have stood there forever.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot on the line. There's that trip to DreamHack. So they want to play as safe as possible. They want to secure this win.
Oh, we see Bubbles. He is going to port out right there. Keeper of the Forest was trying to find him, but blinked a little bit too far north and wasn't able to stop the port with possible rooting for a kill after that. So, good attempt, but Bubbles, being played by a Gordob here, is going to be fine and going to fall back to base, get some regeneration going on. I mean, Shrunken Head still being worked on by Tempest, but as I did mention earlier, he still has... Soul Reaper Ultimate will cancel that, right?
Sorry, what?
The Soul Reaper Ultimate will cancel the Shrunken Head Tempest?
Yes.
Ulti, yeah. So
I don't think it'll do damage, but it will still stun
yeah,
them.
not the damage, but yeah, just the stun. So, yeah, they have Plague Rider at him and Keeper of the Forest. Still all possibilities, and that sucks, being a Tempest player. So he is still going that build despite all of that. But here we go, the top tower push happening now in favor of Gary Johnson 2012. What will Pikachu do? Not many options, man. I mean, it starts with maybe a 5-man Tempest ultimate, but of course, our Legion team staying pretty spread out. We do see a hook right there on a Soul Reaper, so this is some solid initiation. Will it be enough? Bubbles in the background actually keeping the team distracted, but look at Soul Reaper. He's just too damn tanky, and remember, he has a token of life on top of that. So there we go with the barrier. The Keeper of the Forest coming out. Down goes Bubbles. With the boom goes a Dynamite. Devourer to stay alive. The Tempest ultimate canceled, though, by the kickstone from Engineer. The Plague bouncing around. Tempest dropping quickly. He will fall. Wild Soul caught in the background now as well. Wild Soul barely able to take the damage enough. And nope, he will go down in the end. The heal bomb enough to take him out. Hatcher coming out for KSU right there, playing that Soul Reaper. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pikachu, well, I mean, I guess they're going to hold it off a little bit longer, but this is looking like to be an overwhelming Game 1 victory here for Gary Johnson 2012. They're going to keep it going. They catch Devour. He gets pushed in, and Devour is going to end up falling when it's all said and done. Aluna did what she could, but not nearly enough.
Skyzer was really flirting with death right there. Like, had about 20 HP, but the rot was still on him. Push-booked himself away, and he was fine. Yeah, the buyout coming out from Probusk, actually, able to secure that kill on the Soul Reaper, but it just doesn't matter. They're going to get this extra set of racks. They now have 3 racks down. There's the vote to concede. GG, well played. So Gary Johnson 2012 will take Game 1 in this best-of-5 series and really are looking quite good.
Yes, they are. Again, it is a best out of 5, though, so as we really kept stressing going into today, at the big pregame for today, you have plenty of games to try to make comebacks if you are going to fall behind early on. So it's a victory here for Gary Johnson 2012, but Pikachu, it's one of those cases you just got to let it go and know that you still have at least 2 more games left to make something happen here. So, but you're so right, though. Gary Johnson 2012, they looked so strong there in that first game. Just as a team, they seemed like they picked very well. And you mentioned they locked Soul Reaper as maybe a little bit of a trollish, but also a case of, yeah, we actually like playing this hero, so if it comes to it, we have no problem picking it up. And he seemed to fit in their lineup actually very well. That kind of tanky mindset that's also looking to push. Soul Reaper is actually a pretty solid hero for that option. So,
well, again, especially when it gets a Keeper, I think their idea was Keeper is a passive jungler. He can't offer really anything until he hits level 6. So let's go ahead and man up against this dual lane, which they could do. I mean, Devour Luna versus Engineer Soul Reaper. I give the edge to Devour Luna just a little bit. But the problem that you run into and face is when Keeper does hit 6 and you haven't done anything in that lane yet. You haven't got kills on the Soul Reaper or Engineer. And it's like, crap, Keeper 6, as you saw, we have to play back and just not do anything. So they're just sitting there doing nothing. And then you lose the lane. And it just doesn't work out that way. You're going to have to make something happen in that lane. That's why manning up and going actually in the long lane heads up is just, most teams don't like to do it. It's very risky. You only do it if you can assure kills. That's why we see heroes like Parasite, who can actually man up with a pseudo tri lane in that long lane. That's when it works out. But a straight up dual lane, It's kind of iffy.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like ultimately either, going the straight up dual lane, but just Devour in general just didn't seem to have a whole lot of presence there in that game, and so that's where you could honestly say Pikachu almost shot themselves in the foot in that sense, because they were the ones to lock Devour with their first lock, setting that mindset of perhaps going a little bit different locking phase, not your typical 5 or 6 heroes that are just very, very powerful. They wanted to start a mindset of, we're going to lock Devour, and then I think it was Nomad with their first 2 locks.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Gary Johnson, they responded with, well, hey, we're fine with this. We'll go with these 2. So they picked Devour, and like I said, it just didn't seem like he had the biggest impact in the game. So, but best of the 5 series, ladies and gentlemen. So that is just game number 1, game number 2 between Gary Johnson 2012 and Pikachu. Going to be coming at you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.